Australian box jellyfish. The Australian box jellyfish. And we're starting here because this animal, this thing that most people picture as a harmless blob in the ocean, is the most venomous marine creature on the entire planet. Not one of the most. The most. Scientifically documented and peer-reviewed. Not even a close competition. Let me paint you the actual picture of what this thing is. It has up to 60 tentacles, each one stretching nearly 10 feet long. Every single tentacle is covered in millions of microscopic stinging cells called nematocysts, and they don't require pressure to fire. They fire on chemical contact. You don't have to grab it, you don't have to squeeze it, you just have to touch it. Or more accurately, it just has to touch you. The venom is a multi-system attack. It hits your cardiovascular system, your nervous system, and your skin tissue all at the same time. The skin damage alone, it's not like a burn, it's not like a rash. The tissue literally begins to break down on contact, and the cardiac effect is what kills fastest. The venom can trigger cardiac arrest in as little as 2 to 5 minutes in a severe sting. That's not a typo. 2 minutes. People who've survived partial stings describe the pain as the worst thing a human body can experience. Victims often go into shock before the venom even completes its work. And here's what makes this even more unsettling. The jellyfish is nearly transparent. In Australian coastal water, you can be swimming and have zero visibility of it until a tentacle wraps around your leg. There are documented deaths of swimmers in otherwise calm, clear water. They're found in northern Australian waters and throughout the Indo-Pacific, and the season runs roughly November through April, which is peak summer in Australia. The beaches in that region post warning signs and nets during the season. If you're ever in northern Queensland and you see a beach with a stinger net enclosure, that enclosure exists specifically because of this animal. Next, the blue-ringed octopus. The blue-ringed octopus. This is the one that trips people up the most because it looks like something you'd want to hold. It's small, roughly the size of a golf ball, sometimes smaller. The rings are a vivid, iridescent blue that genuinely look like they've been designed by an artist. It's beautiful, and it will kill you with no warning and no antidote. Let's be very specific. A single blue-ringed octopus carries enough tetrodotoxin to kill 26 adult humans. That's one small animal the size of your palm. And there is, to this day, no antivenom. If you get envenomated badly enough, and you're not near a hospital that can put you on a ventilator and keep you breathing while the toxin clears your system, you're not making it. Here's the part that makes this one genuinely terrifying on a different level. The bite is almost painless. People frequently don't know they've been bitten at all. You might feel a tiny pinch, or nothing, and then maybe 10 minutes later, you start noticing your lips are going numb. Then your face. Then your arms. Then you realize you can't breathe properly because the tetrodotoxin is blocking the nerve signals to your muscles, including the ones that control your breathing. Respiratory failure follows. Death can occur in 10 to 20 minutes without intervention. What the toxin does mechanically, it blocks sodium channels in your nerve cells, which stops nerve signals from transmitting. Your muscles can't receive the signal to contract, including your diaphragm. Your brain is fully awake. You're conscious through all of it. You just can't move or breathe. That's not a horror movie, that's biology. The blue rings, by the way, only appear when the octopus is stressed or threatened. When it's calm, it looks like a drab, brownish animal sitting on a reef. People pick these up on beaches in Australia, Japan, and across the Indo-Pacific every single year, not knowing what they're holding. That warning coloration only activates after the animal is already disturbed enough to consider biting. By then, you might already be in trouble. Inland taipan. This is not debated. This is not a some people say situation. Toxicologically, by every measure science uses LD50, venom yield, lethality per milligram, the inland taipan is the most venomous snake in the world. It's not particularly close. One single bite delivers enough venom to kill approximately 100 adult humans or 250,000 mice. The venom is 50 times more toxic than that of a king cobra. 50 times. And unlike a lot of highly venomous snakes that deliver a dry bite or partial bite, the inland taipan bites accurately and injects a full load almost every time. It also doesn't just strike once, it can strike multiple times in a single attack, and it does so with short, rapid, controlled strikes. The venom itself is a complex mix. It contains oxylepotoxin, which causes coagulopathy. Your blood loses its ability to clot, meaning you start bleeding internally and your body can't stop it. It also contains neurotoxins that attack the nervous system and myotoxins that break down muscle tissue. Without antivenom, this combination can be fatal in as little as 30 to 45 minutes. Now, And I want to be straight with you on this, the inland taipan is actually deeply reclusive. It lives in remote, arid regions of central Australia, specifically the Channel Country along the Queensland-South Australia border. It avoids human settlement. It avoids human contact almost entirely. There are 0 confirmed human fatalities from this snake in recorded history because it genuinely doesn't want anything to do with us, and almost no one goes where it lives. But if you corner one, if you mishandle one, if you stumble across one and it feels trapped, everything I just described happens very quickly. The fierce snake nickname it carries isn't about temperament, it's about what the venom does once it's in you. Golden poison frog. The golden poison frog, about 2 inches long, bright, almost neon yellow, lives in the rainforests of Colombia's Pacific coast, specifically a very small geographic range along the Rio San Juan. And it is, gram for gram, the most toxic animal on Earth. One frog carries enough batrachotoxin to kill roughly 10 full-grown adult humans. Some estimates go as high as 20, depending on the individual frog's toxicity. The Embera people of Colombia, an indigenous group who have lived alongside this animal for generations, figured out its properties and used it to coat their blow dart tips, which is exactly where the term poison dart frog comes from. They'd wipe a dart across the frog's back, not even harming it, and that dart was then lethally toxic. Batrachotoxin works by permanently forcing open sodium channels in nerve and muscle cells. Unlike the blue-ringed octopus toxin, which blocks those channels, this one locks them open, which causes your muscles to fire uncontrollably and continuously, leading to severe convulsions, heart arrhythmia, and cardiac arrest. There is no antidote, and critically, you do not need to ingest this frog or be bitten by it. Contact with skin can be sufficient for absorption of a lethal dose. Researchers who study this species wear nitrile gloves as a baseline precaution. Even handling it with gloves requires care, because if there's any break in the glove, any small cut on the skin is enough. Here's a genuinely fascinating biological detail though. In captivity, these frogs are completely non-toxic. The batrachotoxin doesn't come from the frog itself. It comes from their diet in the wild, specifically from certain beetles in the Meliridae family that the frogs eat. Take those beetles out of the diet, and within a few generations, the toxicity disappears entirely. The frog is essentially a biological delivery system for toxins it sources from its food chain. Deathstalker scorpion. The deathstalker scorpion, found across North Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Central Asia. And despite what its name sounds like, this thing isn't the biggest scorpion, it's actually fairly small, usually 3 to 4 inches long. What it lacks in size, it more than compensates for in chemistry. The deathstalker is responsible for the majority of fatal scorpion stings worldwide. That's not because it's the most potent scorpion venom by LD50, but because of the complexity of its venom and where it lives. Densely populated regions of the Middle East and North Africa, where medical infrastructure can be limited and where children and the elderly are particularly vulnerable. The venom is a cocktail, not a single compound, but multiple neurotoxins working simultaneously. The sting causes immediate, intense burning pain at the site. Within minutes, you get systemic symptoms, an elevated heart rate and elevated blood pressure. Then the opposite, a dangerous drop in both. Fever, excessive salivation and tearing. In severe cases, pulmonary edema, which means your lungs begin filling with fluid. In children especially, this can become fatal within hours without treatment. For healthy adults in most cases, the sting is excruciating but survivable. But here's the thing. You're not always near a hospital, and antivenoms aren't universally available in every affected region. That gap is what makes this animal so consistently deadly in documented statistics. Now the redemption arc, and this is genuinely remarkable. Scientists studying deathstalker venom have found that one of its compounds, chlorotoxin, specifically binds to malignant brain tumor cells with a very high degree of selectivity. Researchers have used this property to develop a fluorescent compound sometimes called tumor paint, that makes brain tumors glow under near-infrared light during surgery, helping neurosurgeons see tumor boundaries more clearly. Other compounds from this venom are being researched for insulin delivery in diabetes treatment. One of nature's most dangerous animals is potentially saving lives in operating rooms. Saltwater crocodile. Saltwater crocodile. No venom, no toxin. Just the largest living reptile on the planet and the most powerful bite force of any animal ever measured. Saltwater crocs reach 20 to 23 feet in length and can weigh over 2,200 pounds. Their bite force has been measured at 3,700 pounds per square inch. A lion bites at around 650. A hyena, known for crushing bones, sits at around 1,100. A great white shark is around 4,000. So this crocodile is in the same tier of bite force as a great white shark, in an animal that can walk on land. But the bite isn't even the most dangerous part. It's the death roll. Once a saltwater croc clamps down on something, a limb or a torso, it goes into a rapid, violent spinning motion designed to tear and disorient. It's designed to remove chunks of prey. No human has the strength or leverage to counter this. In documented attack cases, victims lose limbs in seconds. The shock from blood loss alone, even if removed from the water, is frequently fatal. They're ambush predators. They sit almost completely still and submerged, with just their eyes and nostrils above the waterline, for hours. They watch, they wait, they calculate, and then they move in a burst. In water, they can hit 25 kilometers per hour in a short sprint. On land, they're surprisingly fast over short distances too. People underestimate this constantly. Their territory spans northern Australia, Southeast Asia, parts of eastern India, and Papua New Guinea. They're not strictly saltwater animals. They move freely between salt and freshwater, which means rivers, estuaries, coastal wetlands, and beaches. There are documented cases of attacks in areas people assumed were safe because they were upstream or inland. These animals travel. Saltwater crocodiles account for hundreds of human deaths annually globally, many in rural communities that go unreported. Sydney funnel-web spider. The Sydney funnel-web spider. This is widely recognized by toxicologists as the most dangerous spider to humans in the world, not the most venomous to all mammals, specifically to humans. And that distinction matters here. The venom contains a compound called delta-atrichotoxin, which disrupts the way neurons fire in primates specifically. It overstimulates nerve endings, causing uncontrolled firing throughout the nervous system, excessive salivation, muscle spasms, elevated heart rate, and then a dangerous plunge in blood pressure as the body begins to fail. In documented pre-antivenom cases, death occurred in as little as 15 minutes in children. Males are 5 times more venomous than females, and male funnel webs have another characteristic that sets them apart from virtually every other spider. They don't retreat. Most spiders, when threatened, run. A male funnel web rears up on its hind legs, exposes its large fangs, which are strong enough to pierce through a fingernail, and holds its ground. It will strike multiple times if provoked, and it wanders. Males leave their burrows at night, searching for females, which means they end up in shoes, in clothes, in garages, and in swimming pools. They live within roughly 100 kilometers of Sydney, one of the most populated cities in the southern hemisphere. That proximity is what makes this spider such a significant public health concern historically. Before 1981, there were 13 confirmed human deaths from Sydney funnel web bites. In 1981, an antivenom was developed and made widely available across Australia. Since then, 0 deaths. Not one. The antivenom is that effective, and the public health response in Australia is that well organised. But that number is 0 only because of rapid treatment. Without the antivenom, these bites remain potentially fatal in under 30 minutes. Pufferfish. Pufferfish. This one has a layer to it that I think is the most uniquely human story in this entire video, because this is the only animal on this list that people voluntarily eat as a luxury meal. The pufferfish contains tetrodotoxin, the same compound as the blue-ringed octopus. In terms of toxicity, it is 1,200 times more lethal than cyanide by weight. No antidote exists. The toxin is concentrated most heavily in the liver, ovaries, intestines, and skin. The muscle flesh itself is largely safe if properly prepared, largely being the key word. What tetrodotoxin does in the body: it blocks sodium channels in nerves and muscles, causing progressive paralysis. You feel it in your lips and fingertips first. Tingling and numbness. Then it spreads. Your limbs go. Your chest muscles weaken. Eventually your diaphragm, the muscle that drives breathing, is affected, and at that point you suffocate. Your mind stays completely intact throughout. You're fully conscious, fully aware, and unable to breathe. Death occurs anywhere from 4 to 6 hours after ingestion of a lethal dose, without respiratory support. In Japan, pufferfish is called fugu, and it's a delicacy that dates back centuries. To legally prepare and serve fugu in Japan, a chef must go through a minimum of 3 years of training under a licensed master and then pass a highly difficult government examination. The exam has a pass rate of roughly 35%. They must demonstrate the ability to clean and portion a pufferfish perfectly, removing all toxic organs without contaminating the flesh, and they must eat the fugu they prepare as part of the test. Even then, deaths still happen primarily from people attempting to prepare it at home without training. There are roughly 30 to 50 cases of fugu poisoning reported in Japan annually, with occasional fatalities, and outside Japan, where licensing requirements don't exist, the risk climbs significantly.